After a lengthy half year, the patch notes are revived with the Skyward Summit 1.3 update. Let's waste no time and get into everything you need to know. A myth no longer, the Cyber Ninja is finally here! Highlighted by its sneaky, stealthy techniques, the Cyber Ninja aims to be a completely different experience from either of the two other classes. It's a first of its kind, letting you not only wield a ranged weapon, but a melee as well, each with their own methods to maximize impact. The initial bow method uses a stacking arrow system. Every time you hit a non-charged arrow onto an enemy, an icon appears above their head, with up to 5 icons being able to be applied. For simplicity, we'll call these icons stacks. Once you place enough stacks, as you'd like, shoot a charge shot at them. And the more stacks you have on an enemy, the more damage the charge shot will do. So to simplify, if you just shoot a charge shot, you'll do much less damage than if you put 5 stacks on an enemy, then shoot a charge shot. And the stacks will go away after you hit the charge shot, so you have to do it all over again. But that's not actually the only system. As you level up, you unlock more arrow types. You can unlock a glacial arrow that will slow enemies with the base arrow and pierce through multiple with a charged shot. You can unlock a ranger arrow that rewards skill and aim, letting you regain ammo from headshots and giving you a slowing charged shot. And you can unlock a wildfire arrow, an aim-assisted arrow with a stacking armor debuff that multiplies into 5 when doing a charge shot. However, soon after starting the class and testing out how the stacks work, you'll quickly realize you do not have unlimited ammo. And although arrows do regenerate automatically, they do take quite a while. That leads us into our melee weapon, the commas. These weapons are merged into the bow, with only a press of your controller separating the two. They work similarly to the Blade Master's sword, as they don't want you to swing your arms all willy-nilly, but I will say you can swing at a much faster pace and still have maximum impact. Each hit with the commas regenerate 1 arrow, but something you'll quickly notice is their distinct purple color. To any of you thinking, that's not the same color it was in the trailer, you would be right, and that's because it actually has a purpose. The commas become purple when your cadence is ready to activate. When you hit an enemy while your commas are purple, a large sphere will appear on that enemy, creating a sequential pattern where repeatedly hitting the appearing spheres will finish the cadence and do a load of damage. And then, the commas turn back to blue when the cadence is on cooldown. Oh, and there's also a known bug that some enemies just don't have cadence patterns, so be mindful of that. Now, do you remember when I talked about this class being stealthy? Well, here we go. The commas allow for a unique backstab ability. When next to an enemy's backside in stealth, a mark appears for you to hit. Stealth is a new mechanic for the new combat system. As an Oculus player, I do know if you hold down on your dominant hand joystick, it basically makes you crouch, and if you crouch for a few seconds, you get that stealth, as long as you're not in combat. I did try to play around with what kept you in stealth and what didn't. I seem to have a little bit of success with slow moving, like tapping the joystick over and over. I got a long distance using that. And just like kind of holding the joystick just to go like slow. Speed, I think, was an important factor of it. I would cover more distance going slow than running to that same point. Like moderately or even just full on running or jumping will probably instantly put you out of the stealth. So you kind of got to get decently close to an enemy before you use it. Now, successfully hitting the mark while keeping your stealth intact shoves massive damage into the enemy's back. And you might be concerned that you actually have to get close to an enemy to be able to crawl up to them, but have no fear, there's a good way to initiate that with the class's main movement ability. The movement ability is Ninja Run, and it gives you a burst of silent speed, keeping your stealth active through its use, and does some extra damage and healing briefly. It definitely is a little bit hard to control when you're trying to get right behind an enemy at a very high speed, but because you're in stealth, you should be perfectly fine. And I would reckon to say it's the fastest movement ability we now have, as long as you're on ground and using it in the right scenario. Just be careful, because sometimes slight drops in terrain will just screw you over and slow you down. The Cyber Ninja also has a piece of utility, the Smoke Bomb. This is a powerful ability. Throw it on the ground to de-aggro all enemies currently attacking you. It sounds ridiculously overpowered, but the cooldown is multiple minutes, balancing it out decently. But still major lifesaver, especially for boss fights where you can't really get away. The ultimate, Grim Retribution, is a special arrow that casts a line of heavy damage, inflicts damage over time, and inflicts an armor debuff. It's a nice, powerful shot to add some passive damage. Currently, the Cyber Ninja is being released with only the DPS subclass, as the developers prefer to refine the subclass rather than releasing 3 possibly unbalanced or buggy subclasses. I would bargain to believe the other 2 subclasses will come in the future. Also, it's worth noting that plenty of new settings have been added to accommodate for users. They mainly play towards the new class and new movement mechanics. I do recommend taking a peek at them, because I even enable some of them. I will highlight the flick to dash setting, because as someone who likes to jump in all 4 directions, not being able to jump backwards and only dash screws me up a lot. But you can change that. Get ready, your Zen finally has another use. Player housing is finally here. Purchase an apartment in the Nexus district and create your own paradise. There are signs around the city to help guide you, but it's not the most obvious, so just look for the big tower-looking building when you get to the middle of the city. There are a load of purchasable items to be placed around your home, but not just that, the ability to form the room entirely. Place down walls and windows to customize it however you'd like. Maybe give yourself a nice open area with a beautiful view spanning the entire room, or place walls in between areas to create that true-to-life home feeling. The creative minds of Zenith can finally come together to express themselves to these servers, and as Zenith's housing hype man, I hope they continue to build upon housing. More usable items and gadgets, different and more expensive locations, and just building a general purpose to actually go to your house, even if you aren't super interested in housing, is something I would really like to see. Life skills make their way in, centered around the brand new location, Skyland, a location you actually might be sent to after completing the academy. Begin the questline and acquire the new multi-tool, an equipable item that lets you select one of the 3 different tops, including an axe, pickaxe, and grappling hook. The axe and pickaxe serve a similar purpose to gather. Head over to a tree or rock and find the white holographic disc to know where to strike. Calm, collected, and powerful swings are the key to getting that perfect hit. Trees and rocks of various rarity spawn all across Skyland, letting you get plenty of materials, and you can use these materials to hammer in new armor sets exclusive to Skyland. And while you're at it, explore around, you might find some new friends, or enemies. And speaking of exploring, you have a grappling hook to help you do that. It seems like most of the use of the grappling hook is only in Skyland, and you can only assume that's because it would just break the game if you could climb the Celestial Throne with a grappling hook. But hey, it's fun to use there. The grappling hook is pretty simple. You aim at a location, you get a holographic marker, and if it's green, you can attach to it. It'll pull you right towards it, and actually does a pretty good job at keeping your momentum in the right direction. I'd say the best use of it is just to get height, so you can fly down and get more speed that way. Or you can just use it to just kind of walk instead of actually running, but it does use stamina rather than walking, which doesn't, so it's not unlimited. If you've been gathering Zenith's top gear, I have exciting news for you because PvP is finally here. Put your skills to the test by spawning a PvP arena in and challenging other players to duke out who the top Zenith player is. PvP at the front is a simple idea, fight other players, but there's a much deeper set of mechanics with PvP's implementation that might completely change Zenith as we know it. With PvP, we'll finally have competition beyond something like speedrunning a raid, which means players will find a way to get a competitive edge over their opponents. We could see a rise of PvP-centered creators and players, and likely in tandem a lot of tips and ideas as to concepts like Zenith's true best class, the best godstones to use, the best modifiers. We very may well encounter actual metas that will change the way even casual players build their loadout in the main world, but only time will tell. Once again, the UI gets its own category in the patch notes series, and man, there are some quality changes here. Let's start with the elephant in the room, the new map. It's just plain gorgeous. Finally, we have a colored and accurate representation of the world of Zenith, making it easier to understand where you are and where you need to go. It also adds visual locations to some of the fast travels. Some of them just didn't have map representation. It also adds a feature that might go underappreciated. When you travel to a location, the map zooms to just cover the location around you. It makes sure you always get a clear view of the area around you without having to zoom in and mess around the map. It truly makes you feel like you're actually in that location, almost like following a paper map. By default, the loading screen when traveling is now off. You can now see the world disintegrate and rebuild around you. A change I didn't expect, but actually kind of prefer. I just hope you don't have motion sickness. But that's okay, you can disable it if you need to. Seeing the world change makes it truly feel like you're immersed in the fast travel rather than it just feel like you're teleporting in a video game. Parties can now be made with voice moderation turned off, a change players asked for even before Talks mod came out. Because if you aren't bothering others, why play as rules in yourself? Now, that's only some of the UI changes. You can take a look at the patch notes in the description for any minor ones you want to check out, but I'll list them right here if you're the lazy sort like me. Bug fixes aplenty conclude the patch notes, and there are some extremely important ones as always. Once again, you can find all the fixes in the link in the description, because oh my gosh, there's a lot of them. I'd say the most important parts is that Godstones and abilities have a load of fixes, from critical power and chance modifiers working as intended, to placing barrier hitboxes existing for some enemies that just literally would not get hit by it for some reason, from aggro-based scaling working as intended to fixing cursor jitter. The bug fixes clean the game once more. And rejoice, for plenty of optimization has taken place. Take a look at the patch notes to find out if a bug that has been bothering you finally got fixed. And that's pretty much it. I'll keep it brief over here so you can enjoy the update for yourself, but it does seem like we're starting to head to a new direction of new content rather than like filler content with the first update. Because we needed the dungeons. Did we need housing? No, but is it amazing? Yes. And it's definitely a good thing. We don't have to react to every update like, oh, finally. We can actually just be excited for an update. I'm gonna leave it right here. Just go enjoy the update, man.